with Healthy Success. Just want to share some information with you. For many, many years, we have offered wellness classes in the practice. These have been widely received, and over the years, they went from 1 minute to 45 minutes to an hour. And what I did was I would research and I would read the literature and I would evolve the way we cared for patients based upon what I would find out from the research. And what was kind of interesting was that if you look at medicine and you're not, let's say that you're not the expert about it, because I'm a board certified OBGYN, but I was looking at heart disease and endocrinology and gastroenterology and all these other aspects of medicine. And you could look with a different perspective from somebody who has 30 years of practicing medicine and then going through residency and training. But I had a good brain, I guess, and so I would use that brain and look at medicine differently. And so over the last 23 years, we've cared for patients and we've had miraculous results with weight loss and resolution of diabetes, resolution of gastrointestinal problems, thyroid conditions, just wonderful things have happened. And patients would say to me, Dr. Cole, why is it that everything you tell me is different than what my doctor says? And so for many years I would say, well, I really don't know. I don't have an explanation. I don't believe that there are doctors conspiring to keep people chronically ill over the years. But then when I was reading Dr. Malcolm Kendricks, who I highly respect, he's been banned from Wikipedia and I'm sure other social media outlets, but I read in the margin of one of his blogs a quote from Marcia Engel, the past editor of the New England Journal of Medicine. And what she said was, you could no longer trust the medical journals, the New England Journal of Medicine. And I was like, well, how can this possibly be? I mean, my father was a doctor and he respected the New England Journal of Medicine. And he gave it to me when I was in medical school, and I would proudly display my monthly subscription to the New England Journal of Medicine. And so I read her book, and what I realized was that those medical journals are no longer believable because Big Pharma pays for those medical journals in the advertisements. And so there's a high obvious conflict of interest with the medical journals. And so as a doctor, a clinician on the front line taking care of patients, when we sit down to eat lunch and we have 5 minutes to review those articles in the journals, and we look at the conclusion and we say, well, this is a peer-reviewed, highly respected study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, we look at the conclusion and we say, oh wow, okay, so I can trust that this medication is really highly effective and safe and doing what it's supposed to do. But that's just simply not true. And so I started to read her book, and another interesting thing that came out of the book was in 1980, there was legislation called the Bayh-Dole Act. And what it was created for was a good purpose. Initially, they were trying to stimulate research in medicine. And so what they did was they allowed patents and royalties in hospitals and universities. And so now hospitals or universities could profit off of any inventions that they created and invented. Well, clearly, this has led to the monetization of science. Now there's money in science. And when my father practiced, before 1980, scientists were scientists and they were usually underpaid, but they loved their work and they did it because they wanted to help people. But now there's big money in science. And so when we see in the COVID era where they're discounting the benefits of hydroxychloroquine, which has been around for 7 to 8 decades, highly safe, highly effective, and affordable, that is discounted for some drug that's not even on the market yet, that they changed the primary outcomes of the study to support what feeble findings they did find. It's really concerning, you all. And so I watched a documentary yesterday by Judy Mikovits, who I highly respect and who has I've been following for quite some time, and she reported on these findings as well. So I hope you can understand that the reason why there's such a big cognitive dissonance between your clinician on the front line, you go in and you say, "Doc, I don't understand. I know that I can get off my antacid if I use apple cider vinegar." And they're saying, no, you need this omeprazole, you need this medication. It's only because they're trusting the universities that have educated them, and they're trusting those peer-reviewed medical journals, which are not trustworthy anymore. So it sort of makes sense to me that that clinician on the front line, I don't blame them for their ignorance, but like some of the other docs on YouTube now, I challenge you to stand up and start speaking out for these injured people. And we don't want people to be chronically on medications for the rest of their lives. We want to look for causes of disease and not treat symptoms. And so I'm asking you to watch Dr. Mikovits on Plandemic documentary. I hope that it's still out there. And way to go, Judy. Thanks so much. I'm Dr. Shelley with Healthy Success.